You didn't fall in love. Your hunger did. First, your heart tried to hold on. Then your mind tried to explain the pain. And somewhere between the two, you started calling starvation love.
You keep calling it love, but love doesn't starve you. Love isn't something you chase. It doesn't make you sit in front of emptiness, hoping it will suddenly feel full. What you felt wasn't love. It was the tiny rush of getting a crumb after waiting far too long. And when you're starving, even a crumb can feel like a feast.
You always come back to the same table. Not because it feeds you, but because it feels familiar. Pain you already know feels safer than peace you've never felt. But every time you reached out, the distance grew. And you started blaming yourself for needing what every human needs. You kept trying to move forward, one small step, one quiet hope. Wanting to leave the emptiness behind, believing that maybe this time someone would walk with you. You chase the one who gives you the least, because the little they give feels like everything. That isn't love. That is survival mode. When someone appears for a moment, then dissolves the second you reach out, your heart learns to celebrate crumbs as if they were a feast. Not because you're weak, but because you learned to hold on to anything that didn't leave immediately. It wasn't your heart choosing them, it was your nervous system. The part of you that learned early that love doesn't come all at once. That sometimes it shows up in pieces, and you're expected to earn every small moment of it. The table grows longer every time you wait. The emptiness gets louder. The silence starts sounding like it's telling the truth. And still, you stay, hoping the next moment will feel different, hoping that maybe this time someone will finally meet you halfway. Because hoping feels easier than walking away from the little you get. It's not the table you're really looking at. It's the story you've been trying to fix. You're not waiting for them. You're waiting for an ending you never got. A version of you who still believes love will feel different this time. And deep down, you know exactly who you've been trying to save. Every day you stay, you teach your nervous system to settle for less than it was built for. At first, it feels harmless. One quiet moment, one swallowed need, one emotion you convince yourself isn't worth mentioning. But shrinking becomes a habit. You stop asking, stop hoping, stop expecting anything that might disappoint you. But this isn't love. This is survival. The slow, quiet training of your heart to live on crumbs, just so you won't be left behind. But eventually, something shifts. There comes a moment when the crumbs are no longer enough to quiet the ache. A moment when your body stops believing the stories your mind repeats to survive. You start to see the truth you kept avoiding. You weren't starving because you were unlovable. You were starving because you kept trying to feed yourself with someone else's silence. And in that silence, something finally becomes clear. It was never love that kept you waiting. It was hope. Hope that one day the table would change. Hope that empty plates would suddenly fill. Hope that the person who gave you nothing would one day give you everything. But hope isn't love, and hunger isn't devotion. It's just the moment your heart admits it has been living on illusions. And once the illusions fall away, something strange happens. Not at the table you've been starving at, but somewhere else. Far down the line, past all the empty plates you kept waiting beside, you notice something different. Not a promise, not a fantasy, but something real. A single plate, distant and quiet, holding the fullness you kept begging for in all the wrong places. And it doesn't call you. It doesn't demand or chase or pull. It simply exists, whole, honest, untouched by the hunger that shaped your past. And in that distance, you realize for the first time that the world did not run out of nourishment. You were just fed in the wrong direction. And sitting there in the open world, with a full plate in front of you and the wind finally steady, something inside you settles. Not a scream, not a breakthrough, just a quiet shift. The kind you only notice when the noise of hunger stops. You realize there's no fight left to carry, no story left to fix, no empty table to return to. And in that stillness, without forcing it, without announcing it, your body understands what your mind denied for years. You don't have to sit where you starved. The decision doesn't rise like fire. It arrives like breath, calm, simple, inevitable. And when your body knows, your feet follow. Not with urgency, not with fear, but with a calm direction that doesn't ask for permission. You take one step, not to escape, not to prove anything, but because the place you once belonged to no longer holds you. The forest doesn't pull you forward. The past doesn't pull you back. You simply move because stillness has finished its work. One quiet step, and suddenly the world shifts with you. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a soft turning toward a life that is finally yours. And as you walk, something becomes unmistakably clear. It was never the world that starved you. It was where you kept placing your hope. The hunger you carried wasn't a sign that love was missing. It was a sign that you were pouring yourself into places that were never meant to hold you. And now, as the path opens and the weight finally falls away, you understand the truth you searched for all your life. And in that moment, quiet and steady, you walk forward. Not to find someone, not to be chosen, but because you finally chose yourself. She wasn't hungry because love was missing. She was hungry because she kept returning to people who gave her nothing back. The plates weren't empty by chance. They showed exactly how much those people had to give. The story isn't about love being rare. It's about how often we return to people who don't want to give.